Aloha, I'm Joshua Cooper, and I was fortunate enough to be part of the U.S. Human Rights Network program focusing on the Universal Periodic Review. We were focusing on the UPR for roughly 18 months. We began last summer by looking at what other countries have done, but more importantly, to reinvigorate and examine new ways that civil society could change the dynamics and more importantly, be more involved in the process. The first thing we did was actually having conference calls across the country from each community sharing what they felt were the most important human rights issues. From there, we were able to figure out what were the giant themes that had to be discussed that couldn't be ignored when the U.S. was going to come before the UPR in this historic process. What we were able to do then was be able to organize from May through November to really identify the core issues that we would raise. From there, we were able to then come up with these cluster reports. The cluster reports ended up being 25 different themes that were very important for people to be raised here at the Universal Periodic Review. We're able to then break into these cluster reports, and by November, we began the writing process and the drafting process. Another important feature that did happen while we were working on writing these cluster reports to be due in April was the government decided to have meetings and to do a listening tour. We were able to mobilize ourselves to make sure that the listening tour included the most important cities, starting off with Katrina and going around the U.S. to over a dozen different places, wrapping up with meetings in Washington, D.C. that allowed civil society to speak directly to the government. So in the end, on April, we turned in 25 themed reports covering a variety of issues that were significant to civil society. But we also then were allowed to do specific reports from our NGOs that were more succinct, and also do an overall report that shows our dedication and, more importantly, our ability to unify to speak with one voice.